Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I got a quick video for you and we're going to talk about a story pole, which I believe across many different types of construction. It doesn't just have to be framing. It could be being an electrician, a plumber. Any person across the trades can use a story pole to make their job a lot easier. And if you don't know what a story pole is, this video is for you. If you do know what a story pole already is, maybe I will share something with you that will click and make your story pole easier or give you a good idea, so stick around. The important thing about a story pole is they only work if you have a common reference point. Now, what is a story pole? A story pole it tells the story of your job. And for us, this story pole is going to tell us where all of our girts are going to be laid out on each post, where our truss heel is, where our cutoff on the top of the post is, potentially where our windows and door locations are, where our overhead door heights are, porch headers, everything about this building we will put onto this long, somewhat straight 2x4 and use it on every column to ensure that each column is not just accurate, but that we are able to mark each column efficiently and quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm going to turn this rotary laser on. This is the 350 Stabila, and I'm going to get a reference, an elevation on each one of my brackets. That is then going to give me the information I need to set my story pole. And that's a little bit extra information than we need on this video, but just for reference, that's what I'm going to do so that I have a point of reference on every post. Then we'll come back and I'll show you how I make up my story pole, and maybe it'll give you a couple ideas on how you can use a story pole in your job to make your job easier. All right, so now that we have the receiver set on the grade stick, what we're gonna do is just set this right in our bracket. And it's important to make sure that this is always plumb. You want this rod as plumb as possible because it's going to be the most accurate as possible when it is plumb. If you deviate from plumb, your number is not going to be accurate, and accuracy is what we're after. So I'm just going to set this in the middle of my bracket, and I've got this turned off so you guys don't hear the laser, but it's basically reading 5/16 low. So if you can see the arrow is pointing up. It's saying 5/16, and if I bring the receiver up, it's going to find 0 right there. Now, Greg, look at the bottom of my grade rod. Can you see at the bottom of my grade rod that there is space underneath my grade rod? Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, what that means is that in order to find 0, I need to add material to the bottom of my post to bring it up that 5/16 of an inch. So sometimes it's a little bit confusing when you're looking at your grade stick here and it's telling you up, and you would think, I don't know, sometimes you have to, personally, I have to think, is that minus or plus? And visually, if I do that in my head and say, well, I'm low 5/16 and I just move it up, it means I need to add 5/16. So what we do is on each one of these brackets, we're just gonna take a Sharpie, gonna write upside down so we get confused later, and we're gonna write plus 5/16. And each bracket is gonna be potentially slightly different. Now, this one, making sure I'm plumb, this one is also 5/16. What we found on this job site is these brackets are all very consistent. Now, they're not perfect. As you can see, this is 5/16, and you're saying, well, what's 0, Kyle? What does that mean? Well, we found the highest bracket and set that at 0. And that's because of some details later that I'm not really ready to talk about in this video, but it's important for us to find our highest bracket on the wall, set it at 0, and then we just go and check every bracket. It doesn't take long, and what this ensures is that we're as accurate as possible when we set our trusses later on. Hopefully that makes sense. We're gonna get all these, and then we'll go back to the cut station where I'll show you the story pole. All right, so we've gone around and marked every bracket with an elevation point. And now we're gonna transfer that to all of these columns so that we can make them up, and every one of them will have a truss pocket that, in theory, if we do our job right, because we're using a story pole, because we accurately used a laser to mark each of these brackets, should be perfectly on the same plane and level, which is gonna give us a nice clean fascia, a nice flat ceiling, and just an overall good looking building. But in order to do that efficiently, when you look at this pile, we've got 2 of these piles, 40 columns. If I have to pull my tape measure out and mark each one of these where every girt goes, where at the top each truss goes, where my overhang goes, that takes a lot of time. So that is where a story pole comes into play. Now, this is just a regular not perfectly straight, but straight enough 2x4 20-footer. And this is important because it is longer or the same length as our columns. You don't want to board too short. And when we started this conversation, we talked about having a reference point that is going to be consistent throughout. I already kind of alluded to it. For me, for us, what we like to do is have a consistent truss heel point. That is the height of our truss. This building is 18 foot. So with the story pole, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out my truss, okay? This is the important point on the wall or on the post, on the story pole, and what we are going to reference every time when we set these columns up to mark with our story pole. So remember that, that's just what we like to do. You might want to use your grade board, you might want to use some window or door height, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. It's just we like to go off of our truss. And when we transfer this to every post to mark it, we're always going to line it up with this point right here. And what we have to do is all those marks that we made on each bracket, which was plus 3/16, 0, plus 5/16, quarter, we're going to add or subtract to our 18-foot measurement. So we will mark one time, and I'll show you, one time on each post. Greg, you want to help me just get this first one up here? These are some big boys. These are 3-ply, 20-foot, 2x8s. So obviously when you're dealing with these columns, you want to work as efficiently as possible. What I'm going to do is hook the bottom of my column, and I'm going to come up here and mark. This is a lot easier when you have them all laid out and you're working as a team here, but I'm going to come up and I'm going to mark 18 plus 3/16 because this post, according to our laser, sits in a bracket that is 3/16 lower than where we want it. Now we're going to transfer the story pole measurements, which we haven't designated yet, but I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of what we're doing. We're going to line up that 18-foot truss mark to our now 18 plus 3/16 truss mark on this column, and all of our girts, our windows, our doors will be on this story pole, and we'll transfer them to each post just like this. Effectively not needing to pull out your tape measure and have potential error or read your tape measure wrong. We've all had inchitis where we look at the number and maybe go to the wrong side of it or whatever it is. This eliminates that because you have a visual cue to set to a mark that you only have to measure once. So in theory, you have one chance of making a mistake, and we've done that. We've done that before, yeah. But it eliminates a lot of mistakes and reduces them. And if you pay attention and if you're careful, you just got to get one consistent, solid, correct mark on the post and then transfer all of the other marks, just a visual line transfer, and then you know that everything is correct. So a story pole, you can use this in siding. If you go around your house and you snap a line that is level, you use your laser and you snap a level line around your whole house, you can then use the story pole for things like, let's say you've got a window that hey, this row of lap siding, I need to lower it 1/8 of an inch so that it lines up with my window better. You can mark that on your story pole, and when you go around your house, you can make sure that that piece of siding, based off of your laser or your level line or whatever, you can go around and make all those marks quickly and efficiently at the beginning or throughout the job without having to get out a laser and measure and check. If you're an electrician and you want all of your wires to go maybe in the same spot, you can make yourself a quick story pole and just transfer it around so you drill all your holes through the studs in the same spot. Maybe that doesn't matter, but you can kind of see that if you make a story pole, if you use this concept in your day-to-day, any type of task that is repetitive, that you want to be accurate and efficient, make yourself a story pole and then do the task. Let's continue making this story pole up. So now we have all of our marks on this story pole. And I think the problem is a lot of people are always in a hurry. And so they think, man, that just took way too long to mark up that story pole, to figure that all out. But this will pay dividends here in a minute. You'll see when we start actually working on how fast this allows us to work and mark up all of these columns without any thinking or involved. I mean, we can just sit here and have good conversation, talk about the weather, which is pretty nice out right now.
Yeah,
All right, so now that we have all of our columns laid up, we've got all of our marks transferred from the brackets to the bottom of each column, and now Greg is just gonna hold my tape, okay? And he's gonna call out what the post measurement is.
3/8.
And I'm gonna, yeah, these are all plus. And I'm gonna mark 18 plus 3/8, 18
5/16
plus 5/16, 5/16.
plus 5/16.
You'll notice he calls it and I repeat it just because as I say it, I'm looking and I'm making sure it's right because this is our only chance for error once we've made our story pole and it's correct.
3/16.
Plus 3/16. Now that I have all these marks, I'm gonna make a square line. This is our heel. This is where our truss is going to set on each one of these posts. And it's also the reference point that we're gonna use that's based off of a laser reference point on each bracket to accurately mark each column using the story pole. So this is where the speed of the story pole really comes into play. I've got heel right here, this mark, and I'm going to line it right up with my heel mark that I just measured and marked, and then we're just gonna transfer all of these marks that we made. And usually we make this a game, and I usually beat Greg on how fast. And these are all back wall, no porch, so we don't have to make any porch marks. And then boom, move it to the next one, and Greg's gonna be funny. Hey, you want me to get it set first? Right there. I was just trying to slow you down. And then boom, we can make all these marks super fast, not having to pull a tape measure out and try to figure out where each one of these is gonna go. So lining up my marks, and then simple transfer. Boom, so there you go. Literally in minutes, all these are marked. They're accurate, they're consistent, which is also probably even more important than accurate, because when you make mistakes, it's usually because something is odd and it sticks out in construction. You see that some board is crooked or not level or plumb. When it's consistent across the board, it could be inaccurate, but look good. And at the end of the day, that is sometimes what matters, because we do our best. But that doesn't mean we're perfect, obviously, nobody is. But this will eliminate the inconsistencies. And a story pole can be used across the board in many multiple facets across the trades, depending on what you're doing. If it involves repetitious work, if you want accuracy across a long stretch of time, you make a story pole, you use that on everything you do, and it's gonna be consistent, and you only have to figure it up and double check it one time. You don't have to double check every work that you do because you've just used a story pole. So I hope this helped you guys. I'm gonna try to do more of these more focused, shorter form videos, not your 30-minute build series videos that encompass a bunch of stuff. Like, this is just about the story pole and how it hopefully can help you guys on your job sites or at home doing DIY, whatever it is. Think about, can I make a story pole for this? And if you can, do it. It might take some setup time, but it will help you in the long run. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. I need to get back to work because we're building a 72x96 shop. Maybe I'll make a nice time-lapse video of this build. But hit that subscribe button and we'll catch you guys on the next video.